The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
Hall of Fame, no opinions are the same. Bubbly chocolate in the bin for the poll, who will win? Green soda wrestling, pimple dick ranting, air fryer Brussels sprouts, Maxi often cheats. Hey yo, let's start the show. CWF are set to go. Many movies I won't know, such a fiasco. Max v Cy was pretty crap, probably won't go back to that. Max needs to wear a hat, and he sometimes cheats. Hogan is a liar, but Barry Windham is the
worst
thing. Hogan is a liar, hear all about it on Chain Wrestling.
Coughing there, are we, sir? Starting already, folks.
Hey, yeah, a bit of my squash went down the wrong way. Oh,
That's
my eyes water. Blood orange Vimto, mate.
I think you need to go to the doctors with that cough because it just keeps coming back, doesn't it?
You reckon? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's Monday night, Magsy, and it's very warm and sticky and horrible in Gloucester at the moment. Really humid and shit. We need a bloody good thunderstorm, I think, mate.
It's warm and sticky and glorious up here in the great town of Burnley. Yeah, it's been amazing weather. We've had a little bit of rain that broke the heat a little bit, but yeah, it's been glorious. Loved it.
It's been very, very warm. I like the warm normally, but it's just got all humid and muggy and crap. But there we go. It is supposed to be the summer, of course, so we should be having warm weather. And I hope it continues. So obviously next week I go away for a bit, so hopefully it will continue and we get some nice weather next week. But there we go.
So.
Oh, I was supposed to speak to you actually about what we're going to do about next week's show before we went live, but we didn't do it. So now we're live. I don't know what we're doing.
Shall we talk after the recording?
It's an idea, and then we'll put it out on Twitter for people to know.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good shout, mate. That's a good shout. Yeah, that's a good plan. I should have done it beforehand. I don't know why I forgot. But there we go. There's so much to get into on this week's Chain Wrestling Live. We have the Hall of Fame and Hall of Lame, of course, or one of each, or whatever it may well be. We have our non-wrestling topic, which there's a few answers to that have tickled me. That are very, very funny. I can't wait to dive into them. We have a wrestling match that I think I've not seen before. I watched it today for the show.
Really?
I think so.
You heathen.
I'm not sure I've seen that pay-per-view.
Wow.
Or if I have, it's been a very, very long time.
And you've just got so much space in your brain that you had to push something else out, and that's well by the wayside.
Well, not too much space in my brain, too much information in my brain. I haven't got
not enough space. Not enough space in your brain.
I've got too much space in my brain. So right now, all I've got is Unforgiven 99 just rattling around on its own in this big chasm of space.
I mean, that's usually how it works with me. If I when I'm watching a match for the review, that's the only thing I can think about until I finish. Okay. Yeah. So.
Right. Okay. I suppose we better also at some point dip our toes into what happened at SummerSlam as well, Magsy, and so on. And of course, we'll have all the glorious people from the CWF in the chat joining us as well. So, a lot to be talking about, mate, isn't there? A lot to be talking about yet again.
Busy old show.
Indeed. Yeah. Which is the way we like it, mate, isn't it? It's the way we like it. And hopefully we're not going to digress into silly silly nonsense that is going to make me cross that it's being spoken about on my network and so on. Don't pull that face, Magsy. Don't do it. Yes, with that worrying look upon your little Burnley mush.
Rude.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live, an SJP World Media Production, episode 158. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the Unforgiven to my often forgotten, the Kane to my lane, a podcaster who happily takes on 5 other men at a time and sometimes even pays for the privilege. Lord Max.
So you pre-chastise me for bringing up things that shouldn't be talking about, and you then go on and say that I pay for sexual gratification from 5 men. So you start the ball rolling, and then you go mad at me when I continue and take it into directions you don't like.
Hey, I said that you take on 5 other men. We're looking at a wrestling match where any one of those competitors are taking on 5 opponents. It's your mind that's gone straight to the gutter, my friend. I was referring to sporting contests.
You did a Nigel Farage there. You laid out the innuendo, knowing that the Gaminier would bat.
No, that's not my style, mate. That's not my style. Magsy, very quickly, shall we scan through the chat and see who has joined us early doors?
Well, we shall, and we've the numbers are up because you've got the premium X account on the SJP World Media.
Network.
So yeah,
the network has, yeah. So.
Naughty StreamYard by sliding that little rule in place by saying you have to have a premium account. But anyway, let's go. So the first one, and I don't even know how this has got to the top of the list because this was put on after you mentioned drinking squash. But anyway, Ori, how are you, dear? She says, how she misses squash. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. And it may have something to do with the fact that she is like 5 hours in front or 5 hours behind or something like that.
I don't think that's how it works, mate.
Well, this was the first comment that actually came in 15 minutes before we went live.
Because there's a time difference and she's 5 hours behind or 5 hours in front, she's not time traveling. She's not going 5 hours.
No, I get that. I'm just saying her comment jumped straight to the top. Normally that would be like mixed in with the other comments around that time, but Ori's comment jumped straight to the top.
Interesting.
King Pig's Banner, and he has done some amazing artwork this week. Not just putting man and Saz beautiful mugs to art, but he's also included quite a few of the CD ref in it for this 6-pack challenge. So thank you very much for that, sir. It's always appreciated. And he says, Chain Wrestling Live, baby, Sire Mags talking wrestling. We're better than you. Deal with it, Mags. And yeah, do you know what? I agree with every single word. We are better than 99.99% of the podcasts out there. Yeah, they may draw money and viewers and listeners and sponsorships, but they don't want none of that shit to us. They are shit compared to us.
Yeah, we don't want none of the bother of that, do we?
So Ori's again has jumped to the top of our list. If you look on our comments list, it's jumped up again to the top. It's very weird.
Interesting.
Anyway, she's 5 or 6 hours behind. So that confirms it. And then we've got more in the chat saying, hello, darlings. Hello to you, sir. How are you? First lady of the SJP World Media Network. Sharon says it's Monday night. You know what that means. And Sharon, I'm going to be the middleman in this because Sa is a bit too scared to ask you. But he said in the pre-recording, the green room, that he right fancies some curry. So if you could be a doll and microwave him a curry.
Oh my God! Have you got?
And if bring it up. Yeah. Bring it up when you bring his cup of tea. If you don't mind, thank you very much.
I'm good for curry shot, honestly.
Morty says the pub quiz went out last week, so now you can talk about it. Oh wait, you already did. I mean, you can't involve me in a private, secret recording and not expect me to grass it up. I don't work like that. The words come out of my mouth, as Sal will attest to, they come out of my mouth before my brain kicks in. Half the time, I don't know what's coming out before I even start speaking. So it was a great show. I feel a bit aggrieved that maybe we got cheated a little bit, but all fun was had.
I didn't cheat, and I won.
Swen, let's just say that Swen.
Oh yeah,
That was
my
the
partner in
evidence that-
crime, the person I was paired with, he's a cheating motherfucker. He is, but me, I did not.
King Pig's Brother says, "Hi, honey, I'm home. Well, can you get in and can you put your back away as well and take your shoes off and wipe your feet?" Connor, all the way over there in America, says, "Howdy, howdy." And Dan Griffin, the work wanker, says, "Evening, bastards." Well, evening to you. Connor says, "Don't know how pissed off, but I'm scheduled for a closing on the week that a tropical storm is on the way. Fucking assholes." Well, it's the laugh of retail.
I've got an idea who you might have pissed off. I'm going to guess it's anyone above you in your employment who has anything to do with the scheduling. And it's maybe by the way that on a virtual daily basis, you're slagging off your work on Twitter and calling them bastards and assholes and so on, like you are here on YouTube. Just a thought. It's just an idea.
I mean, that's an elongated way to explain it. I think you could have just said anyone. You could have just finished at the word anyone, and then that would have been sorted.
There we go.
Dan Griffin says Sergio Garage.
Garage.
He does have a look of Nigel Farage, I think.
I'm sat in a Union Jack t-shirt as well, if you look at it, aren't I?
He's living the gimmick, folks.
God's sake.
King Pigladder says he's having a week off from mentioning the words
I'm very glad.
Now, in the pre-chat again, I made a solemn promise to try and not mention that activity. And then I realised what my Hall of Lame would be, and it's kind of tacked on that I'm going to try and not mention the word, but it is adjacent to my Hall of Lame. Anyway, moving on. Morty says Mag's understanding of time differences is fixed levels. The best thing is I record with people from across the pond a lot of the time, and I still can't figure out time differences. It's ridiculous. Dan says you were all terrible on that quiz. I got 19 on my own, and you two teams got 22.5 and 24.5. I mean, you're saying we're all terrible. Sharon did tot up her scores whilst we were there, and it was in single digits. So it's very likely that I got 19 on my own, and Sharon made up the rest.
But I think as well, him saying that we were terrible on that quiz, he got 19 on his own when he's sat with his headphones in, just listening during work or a dog walk or something like that. It's not the same. It's the same as you can practice taking penalties in training, but the pressure of the shootout is a different scenario. You know, it's that vibe.
That's very true. Morty says Sev was egregious. Underwater Paul will not be back. No, whoa, that's going too far because Paul is comedy gold. He doesn't say much, but when he does, it is absolutely hilarious. So maybe just like a yellow card for cheating, or make him stay on camera all the time so we can tell he's not going on his phone to Google. That'll work. Connor says, working with the public, I've had to learn to think before I say certain things, and I've had to learn how to have a filter. And yet you still go on Twitter slating your work. So I don't know if you've learned it very well. Maybe a little bit more practice at that, sir.
There was one, Magsy, a little while back where he called out something to do with his business, who he works for. If you want to gather, it's quite a big chain, and even tagged them in it. And I thought, Connor, you got some bollocks, mate. You have got some balls. I respect that. You have got some bottle, my friend.
Dan says, is that the SJP World Media EDL shirt?
Don't link me with them racist fucks. No chance, pal.
And then King Pigbrother says, Seb's my new favourite Disney character. It's so blatant. It was so blatant.
It was just ridiculous,
and
wasn't
he still got the point. He still got the point. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sharon says she got 10.5. Yeah, that sounds
there
very inaccurate. That means I would have only got like a 12, which I don't think is true. I think I got pretty much all of them.
I don't think that's the case.
Dan says, I was at a disadvantage for the visual rounds too. Well, I mean, in the way you couldn't see what was going on, yeah, that could be a disadvantage. But the fact that we had to endure what was going on, that's a bit of a disadvantage to us, I think. We had to
I was at a disadvantage. I was at a disadvantage for the audio rounds because anytime we played anything, I couldn't hear it. So I had to run downstairs, listen to Sharon's computer, then run back upstairs to answer the question.
But then you also did steal answers off Sharon, so there is that.
I didn't. I gave Sharon an answer to a question, totally forgetting she wasn't on my team. So that wasn't a smart move on my part at all.
It was all brilliant, though.
She just went, what was the answer? And I told her.
And the last one for now, Mortar, you likely got all of them except the several questions. I was so bad. What did I say in the last one? I have no idea. I don't remember what I said 5 minutes into this show. So them questions are just the worst for me. How many times have I been told what Chris's dog's name is? And I still don't remember the name of that dog.
Oh, dear me.
And then Dan says, just realised that taking all this shit is putting me under pressure for the next pub quiz. But, well, I hope you get underwater Paul on your team. That's all I can say.
Oh, interesting. There we go. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here via YouTube, Twitch, if you have joined by Twitch, or X or Twitter as well, which we're back on now, live via the SGP World Media's Twitter account, not the Chain Wrestling Twitter account. If you're listening back to the audio version and you want to join us on a Monday night, all shows via SGP World Media, including the Volley, which is making its live return this Wednesday night with a, I suppose, pre-season show talking about the upcoming Premier League season. Will all be live via the SJP World Media Twitter/X account, as well as, of course, YouTube and all the normal places. So there we go. Right, Magsy, SummerSlam. Did you watch the show?
I did.
What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I think my issue with it was that it felt more like plot devices than feud enders.
Yeah.
If you understand what I mean. We had like the whole breakup of the Judgment Day being teased in 2 matches. The teasing of Bloodline 2.0, Bloodline Civil War in the main event. So it almost felt like a B pay-per-view in that regard, where it was furthering storylines on rather than it being one of the big 5 where storylines basically come to an end. But saying that, the in-ring work was pretty good. Pretty good. I didn't like the fact that the first 2 matches both had shoulder injury plot points. It kind of made the second one a little bit redundant, but I can't really fault the in-ring work. I was thoroughly enthralled with the wrestling. I thought it was a really good show.
I enjoyed it. I thought Punk McIntyre was brilliant. And I'm not too sure about grown men fighting over a friendship bracelet. That's all a bit wobbly for me. But we get a continuation of this feud between Punk and McIntyre and Rollins as well. I think we're going to head towards like a Hell in a Cell kind of thing in the next month or 2 there. Obviously, we got the Bloodline, Roman returning, and so on. Again, we spoke earlier on a previous episode, Max, haven't we? Probably going to head towards Hell in a Cell. War Games at Survivor Series with that. I'm not totally sure where Cody goes now. Maybe to Orton or Owens, with one of them potentially turning. That would maybe be where he heads for a next challenger, because the other guys from the Bloodline and so on are going to be tied up in that for the next month or 2, I'd imagine.
I dare say that Cody may be involved in that, though.
Siding with Roman, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's going to be likely to be Cody, Roman, and the Usos.
Right.
Versus Bloodline 2.0. So I think we may see Cody in and around that storyline for a little while. So he may not have to defend the title against a set challenger, I suppose.
Right. Okay. I'm not a mad big fan of Nia Jax anyway, but I am a big fan of Bayley. I didn't really want to see that title change, but
no, I have to
obviously,
disagree there. I think since she's come back, Nia Jax has been a hell of a lot better. She's never going to be a Charlotte Flair or a Sasha Banks or even a Bayley, but I think she in-ring work is a lot crisper than it was when she was around injuring people. I think there's a little bit more depth to the character, and I do like this kind of dynamic between her and Tiffany Stratton, where Tiffany's got the briefcase and now Nia's the champion, and they kind of buddied up, but there's going to be that tension there of when Tiffany cashes in. So I'm not mad at that. I don't think Bayley's had the best of runs as champion this time. There's not been a lot of big feuds for her to get her teeth into. And it'll be interesting to see if Tiffany Stratton is the next big star in the women's division.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, fair enough. LA Knight, big fan of his. Glad they got that win.
About time. He should have had a title 6 months ago.
Yeah. And the Dominic Mysterio stuff turning on Rhea Ripley was incredibly predictable, wasn't it? Let's be honest. You got Trish Stratus vibes with Jericho and Christian from the past when they'd pulled it. I think it was at WrestleMania that time, Magsy, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
So but it doesn't matter to me if it's predictable, if it's done well and it makes sense. And this made sense. So
yeah, exactly. And it helped show the rest of the cracks in the Judgment Day as well, because what Dominic did led to Damian Priest and Finn Balor going at each other, which led to Finn Balor screwing Damian Priest over in his match. So I really like what they've been doing with the Judgment Day. I think that may be a better storyline than this section of the Bloodline.
Okay, interesting. Okay, fair enough. And of course, we've got NXT this week as well, haven't we? Great American Bash. I think it's on Wednesday. I want to say Wednesday night.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, they're firing out those classic WCW pay-per-views.
Yeah, well, great names, mate. Great business, wasn't it? Great company. But there we go. Before we get on with our Hall of Lame entrance for this week, I want to quickly dive back to the very top of the chat, because we have more from Ori at the very top. And we have here that her comments are going to the top, Ori says, because she's the most important aside from Sharon, which I think is a brilliant comment. And also Ori says, was there no Jey Uso coming out to help Rhea pick up the pieces? Maybe that's going to be held back for a future occasion and we get a mixed tag at some point, I imagine.
Perhaps. I think we'll see the Usos reunite soon. Then the Usos and Roman reunite, leading to, like I said, there was a couple of months before we get to War Games. So I think Jay's going to be tied up for that.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Do you have anything else you want to comment on, Magsy, or shall we dive into the Hall of Lame?
No, I think there's something that I want to bring up. Something that's happened this week, and it's going to pretty much go with this.
Pitbull, dick alert!
A teeny weeny.
Ooh, I nearly had a pimple dick for this week's show, but I want to do a bit more research and throw it in next week's show. Because
you did promise Steve or a pimple dick.
Yeah, and that's why I was
reneged on your promise again.
There were certain bits I thought I'm going to have to look into a bit more, because I don't want to, give out false information, because that's not my style, Mags.
Okay.
What have you got for us, mate?
If you are British and haven't been living under a rock, you'll have seen some of the horrific things that have happened this weekend. My pimple dick is firstly the mainstream media that spouted out misinformation about the horrific incident in Southport, where 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift dance concert very unfortunately unalived. but the information that was sent out by the media, and in particular Nigel Farage, was that this person was on a terrorist watch list or wasn't on a terrorist watch list, was an illegal immigrant or wasn't an illegal immigrant, and it was all done not to help the grieving families or the hard hit community of Southport, but it was done to rile up the far right base, and riled up they ended up. I mean, they claim it was protesting and demonstrating. It was rioting. If you drive or bus 600 miles to go to a community that has already been devastated by recent events, to smash people's gardens up for bricks to hurl at police and at mosques and at people with brown skin, you're not protesting. You're rioting. If you block a street with a group of white thugs and only let people pass who are driving, who are white skinned, and you then beat up the people who have got brown skin, you're not demonstrating. You're a thug. You're animals. If you go to a church and desecrate people's graves so you have got ammunition for missiles to throw at people, you're not protesting. You're a monster. If you attack a mosque because it's a community of brown people, even though that mosque has given 25,000 meals out to homeless people this year alone, you are not demonstrating. You are an animal. If you went out of your way to disrupt a peace and love affirming march, you're not protesting. You're just being a cunt. If you went to Blackpool to ruin a punk festival for people who had just wanted to have fun on a hot weekend, you're not protesting. You're just being an arsehole. If you destroy your own town centres, you steal from a shoe zone, if you burn down a library, if you burn down a citizens advice bureau, or you go and loot Greggs, you're not protesting. You're a wanker. So my pimple dicks for this week are the fucking clown shoes that went protesting singing "We Want Our Country Back." You fucking got your country, you stupid twat. It's just people who have nothing to their name, who are looking for a little bit of help, land on British shores, escaping war zones, escaping tyranny, escaping murder, and they come to see a group of white, bald-headed thugs chanting the most horrific things. You wankers, you are full-on wankers, and you make me disgusted in being British. So you lot are pimple dicks.
100% agree, Maxie. And there's nothing I can add. You're absolutely correct on everything you say there. 100%. It's just being thugs and trying to excuse their behaviour under terms that don't apply to that situation. And they're all brain dead. They're all mindless. They're all idiots. And the worrying thing for me is when you see clips of people taking their kids to these incidents, young kids shouting racist comments. There was a young girl who I saw a video of on Twitter who was with her mum, and
seen it,
holding her hand, shouting, "Get the
and when the person recording the video asked the mum why she's letting her daughter say that, what she's teaching her, the person recording the video got grief from about 15 people. It's ridiculous.
It's disgusting.
It is. It's just disgusting. It's just any reason to show your blatant, horrific racism and xenophobia. Mm-hmm. You do not speak for this country. You are animals.
Exactly. And we got a lot of support for what you're saying here in the chat as well, Maxie. We've got We've got Connor there. We've also got Dan Griffin with a great shout here as well. Protect our kids by setting fire to citizens' of voice, looting various stores, etc. Graves, the absolute worst of humanity. Sharon, well said, Mags. Morty saying, go Mags. And then he also mentions that he took the Greg's looting personally. He's quite fond of a sausage roll, is Mort.
The very worst thing that I saw from these people who pretend to be protecting England and defending England, there were groups of people near the cenotaph, which is to honour our fallen heroes from war, doing Nazi salutes.
Disgusting.
Nazi salutes. And you think you are the protectors of England? You absolute scumbags.
And it'll be them same pieces of shit that will be posting pictures of poppies on Facebook come that particular occasion later in the year, regardless of what they've done earlier on. Absolute brain dead fuckwits, mate.
This weekend was just a reason for racists to be racist, and it was horrific.
Exactly.
Anyway,
exactly. Let's move on, shall we?
So, are we going on to Hall of Fame, Hall of Lame now?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
The Hall of
What do you got for us, Max?
Let the nonsense begin.
Oh, good God.
So, it's in a good way. I mean, not the nonsense. But what happens is good. So, my entry this week is a British wrestler called Adrian Street. Now, a lot of modern day wrestling fans may not know who Adrian Street is, but this guy was a wrestling pioneer. When he started wrestling in the late 50s, early 60s, he created a character that would be the prototype for people like Goldust, prototype for people like Gorgeous George, Ric Flair, those kind of people. He was a very flamboyant, almost androgynous, wore a lot of makeup. He had the feather boas and the very fancy gowns. And he was an absolute star in British wrestling. And it also helped that he was fucking hard as nails. Now, this guy traveled all over the Americas and Mexico playing his trade. But the reason that I'm putting him in, I mean, he's worthy of being in any Hall of Fame for his career anyway. I mean, the guy was still wrestling 10 years ago. And he started wrestling in the 50s. But the reason that he's going in is because in 1971, he was in the midst of what was essentially Britain's biggest wrestling feud. He had a match with the world champion George Kidd. He beat George Kidd in a non-title match. And that was to lead to what was being billed as the match of the century, where he would challenge and hopefully beat George Kidd for the world title. Unfortunately, George got injured and had to take a little bit of time off. So the person who was booking at the time, a guy called Ted Beresford, ponied up a different opponent. And let's just say this opponent didn't suit Adrian Street. This opponent was Jimmy Savile. So
dear.
Adrian was already not happy because of the influx of Jimmy Savile into the wrestling business. He saw it as a bit of a slight to the business, like kind of breaking kayfabe, if you will. But then Ted Beresford said, because he's famous, we want you to go to a time limit draw. Adrian was having none of that bullshit. Said, absolutely fucking not. We are not going to. I cannot go into a world title match having been held to a draw by this celebrity wrestler. But they agreed to the match anyway. And then when it came to the match, one of Adrian Street's kind of caveats for a match is that he comes out last, so that the face gets all their big pops, and he can come in, be the evil bad guy that he is, and get straight into the match. He was told that Jimmy was already in the ring. His music hit. He came to the ring. Absolutely no Jimmy Savile there, because his booker had double crossed him. So Jimmy came out and got all the praise. So this angered Adrian Street up. Adrian then took his robe off, which was kind of his way of starting the match. And to mock him, Jimmy Savile took his robe off and then took the robe on that he had underneath that. And then again, he had 3 robes on just to mock his opponent. All this was not doing Jimmy the world of good, because it just riled up Adrian Street. And as I've said before, this guy was double hard. Straight as the match started, Adrian Street grabbed Jimmy by the hair and pulled out a massive chunk of it, threw it up into the air, and you could see wafts of Jimmy Savile's hair floating all the way through the arena lights. And he beat Jimmy Savile up from pillar to post. He did a submission move that damn near broke Jimmy Savile's back. He drop kicked him so powerfully that Jimmy Savile landed right on his head. The match could have essentially been finished within seconds, but Adrian Street said he drew it out as long as he could because he was enjoying beating Jimmy Savile up. He said in an interview that he beat Jimmy Savile black and blue and beat him to such of a pulp that Jimmy Savile never, ever wrestled again. And this is Jimmy Savile claimed he had 107 wrestling matches in his career, and this was the last one. And then in an interview in 2013, Adrian said if he'd have known how the full extent of Jimmy Savile's abuse, he would have given him an even bigger harding than was physically possible. So my entry this week into the Hall of Lame is Jimmy Savile wrestling, but then getting beat up by Adrian Street.
And Adrian Street's part in that, I think, is a Hall of Fame induction as well.
Perhaps.
2 for 1, Matthew.
Perhaps.
2 for 1. There is a very good, albeit quite short, documentary about Adrian Street on the WWE Network. If people want to go and seek that out, it's well worth a watch. It's only about 25 minutes long, if that, but it's definitely worth your time. Yeah, absolute legend. Absolute legend. It's a great show, Mags. My entrant into the Hall of Fame is not a legend. Well, maybe he is, but for the wrong reasons. This is an individual that we've spoken about on numerous occasions. I'll give you his name towards the end of what we're running through here, because the character this individual portrays in my entrant into the Hall of Fame never actually got as far as being given a name. Now, in the early 90s, we had, around the time of Earthquake, Don Morocco, and all that sort of stuff, like so 91 going into 92, potentially at a push. We had a character who would randomly run to the ring during a match when a babyface was being beaten up, wearing red tights with what looked like a thong over the top of the tights, but it's difficult to see on the footage, and I don't really want to be looking that closely. A weird beret cap kind of effort with a long black bandana behind it, and a mask. A white mask with black bits and red bits on, and a star, and so on. Pretty put together. The guy had a decent body to him. He looked the part. He also had weird dungarees on, and the front of them looked almost like an old lady's knitting bag was sewn into his ring gear. Very, very strange.
Amazing.
But this guy effectively would run to the ring when a babyface was being beaten down. So the occasions it happened, there was one with Rick Martel. He has defeated his opponent, and he's about to spray him in the face with his arrogance spray and so on. This guy would run to the ring, not through the crowd or anything like that, nothing that clever. Oh no, Max, oh no. He would run to the crowd run to the ring down the entranceway. So obviously employed by the company. There's no suspense built up in the character whatsoever. Get in the ring, throw some awful punches, an awful headbutt, save the babyface, and then just run away again.
Guardian angel.
Well, this happened on a few separate episodes of Wrestling Challenge and the TV programs of the time. And it was prominently pushed in the handful of occasions it happened. Another one was Greg the Hammer Valentine had he had won the match, but he was getting beaten down by Earthquake and Don Morocco and Jimmy Hart. And at the time, Earthquake was a big killer heel. He'd been working with Hogan, he'd been working with Warrior, and so on. This masked man runs to the ring, yet again, still not giving a name, and wipes out Earthquake and Don Morocco, picks up Greg the Hammer Valentine, and then runs away again. And that was literally all this character did. Before, after 4, maybe 5 appearances, he just disappeared without a trace and was never seen again. He was referred to as the run-in man, because obviously it was a run-in. There were times when he was also referred to as, let me just make sure I got this right, Furface and the Mariner were also thrown around at the time, but nothing was actually given as his proper name. And none of those really, I mean, the Mariner, doesn't that just mean he's on a boat or something?
Yeah, like a fisherman.
Yeah, nothing to do with this dude, his gimmick. Or maybe that's what the bag was for. Perhaps he was carrying fish. I don't know.
It could well have been, yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, not to be used again. So all that promotion, all that hype and so on, never led to anything. Under the Mask, and this is the reason why I throw it in, Magsy, because I feel we need to always make sure we have a complete set when it comes to this individual. Under the Mask was a guy who was basically, I think by now, got his own wing of the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's our buddy, Ed Leslie, Brutus the Barber fucking Beefcake.
Amazing. Just when you think he's out of gimmicks, he comes back with another one.
And it is a sight to behold. You can see it on YouTube. If you literally just type into Google, the run-in man WWF, the first video that comes up on YouTube is literally a collection of his run-ins. And the whole video itself is less than 5 minutes long. That was his whole character's range.
I'm probably not going to do that.
Probably not. But it was very, very poor. And just because of who we now know was behind the mask, who then went on to obviously tag with Hogan going into WrestleMania 9 and so on, I feel it has to go in because it's that bastard Beefcake again. And it's a gimmick that just went nowhere. So my entrant to the Hall of Fame this week is the unnamed run-in man.
I mean, you didn't even need to say all that. You could have just said Ed Leslie, and it's an instant double yes. That guy deserves every Hall of Fame position that he could ever get. Jesus, what a fucking way. I mean, I wonder what the actual long-term plan for that was.
Also, you see images of him. I wish I had a picture to show you now, but people can go and look online. The gimmick just looked like he'd gone through lost property at a local school. He looked like shit.
Yeah, ridiculous. But that's the majority of his characters. They look like fucking absolute clown shoes.
Do indeed, mate. They do indeed. But there we go. That is your entrance into the Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame for Chain Wrestling Live this week. We have Brutus Beefcake being a fucking weirdo again. And of course, we have Jimmy Savile's toe into the wrestling business. But Adrian Street beating the piss out of him. God bless you, Adrian. Great stuff. Shall we scan through the chat quickly, Magsy, and then dive into our non-wrestling topic?
We shall. Let's go to... I don't think we've read this one. Graham from Good Cop, Bad Cop says, "Evening, gents. Didn't think I would make it today, but the Suns' first golf tournament of the year finished early. We'll head back to start at time soon. Catch up with you in a bit. Yeah, let us know how we did. In the tournament. King Pigsbatter says Paul's been blacklisted. Dan says, saying Nia Jax has gotten better is saying that you prefer gonorrhea to syphilis. Well, I mean, it's hard to deny she's not better because she was the absolute drizzling shits before, and now it's a little bit solid, still a bit squid, yeah. Still not one of those kind of shits where you trust a fart, but it is better. King Pig Banner says, "What are your thoughts on Becky Lynch's potentially announcing her retirement?" So yeah, I think this was done on Instagram or maybe Twitter, where she in a picture of her daughter, and she said, "Being the man was an honor, and being the child's mum is a privilege." So it was the use of kind of past tense with what she was saying. I don't think Becky Lynch is done in the wrestling business yet. She's got decades. She's literally got decades in the business. So perhaps it's just keeping her still in mind while she's away from the squared circle, I think.
Also, the longer she's away, the more
we
I
miss her.
suppose. Yeah, and the more important she becomes when it comes to negotiations with whichever company may turn up, play each other up. She's not quitting.
And I don't see her ever going to AEW. She seems like a wrestler that would be WWE through and through.
But I imagine they would offer a big wedge of money just to chance their arm. They'd be daft not to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then she can go to WWE and go, "Well, Tony said this. What have you got for me?"
Doing the Randy Orton, because Randy blatantly did that on Twitter. Connor says, LA Knight winning a title. Yeah. It was, and to give a hard into Logan Paul after, again, he could have been a potential pimple dick for the summer stuff that he said. Yeah. Celebrities, people in the public eye, mainstream medias have had a fucking grim week for passing on disinformation and essentially ruining people's lives. It's been grim. Morty says Jay and Sammy beat the tag team champs last week, so I think they're going for the titles.
Okay.
Who did they beat though? Did they beat DIY or did they beat Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu?
I don't know. I don't watch the weekly product, mate.
Brilliant. That was helpful. Connor says the media always has an agenda to fulfill no matter what. Yep, they do. It's all about selling papers, and then we get the praise on me. And look, I don't particularly take praise for this. It's just it needs calling out when people are being dicks. They need to be told they're being dicks. Dan says it's gone as far as attempted murder, setting fire, and barricading to the exits to hotel housings, migrants and refugees. I saw the one in the riot in Sunderland, and it kind of calmed down, but there were still people who just wouldn't go home, and they were pushing bins towards the police that were clearly from a local bar. So the glass bottles were going all over. And then the poor staff were having to come out of the bar to pick up these glass bottles that they'd already put in the bin. It's just, why? What are you gaining from that? You just look like dickheads. Mm-hmm. Graham says the brick in the dick was a good cop moment though. Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was quite funny. He
got a brick in the back of the head as well, didn't he? And then also in the dick. Amazing. Mort says nonsense in a good way. Good God. I mean, it was though, because the nonce got beat down before we knew he was a nonce. So he got a
Let's move on. Let's just move on.
Dan Griffin said Adrian Street had the best ever fuck you to his dad, and he mentions it later on, so I'll go to that one first. Says Adrian Street famously never got on with his old man, and his dad never believed in him wrestling. So when he won a major title, Street had a photo shoot in his full gear at his dad's man with him. Yeah, brilliant. That's a massive.
Those pictures are iconic, man. They look amazing.
Ray says, evening, chaps. It's been a minute. Welcome in, Ray. How are you, sir? Graham says, now then, here comes the nonsense. It's gone now. The nonsense has gone. King Pig's Banner says he's seen the Adrian Street documentary, and it's bloody good. Graham says, Mariner equals seaman for now. Brilliant.
For now.
Morty says they beat JD and Finn. Yeah. From the Judgment Day. King Pigbladder says all kicking off in Burnley tonight. Not at my end of Burnley. Down in, I know there was some. I was actually proud of Burnley because Burnley usually one of the first towns to jump on this let's riot for absolutely no reason bullshit. But they were pretty calm all weekend. And then I saw that somebody had attacked the Barclays Bank. I'm thinking, here we go. This is the race riot. It started in Burnley. But it was because they have links with Israel and the whole war in Palestine. So they were getting grief for that, which I can't blame them for that. But I haven't heard about any kicking off yet, but I'm sure it will be doing, knowing Burnley. They can't not let you down. And then we have Robert Fernandez in the chat. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope you're enjoying the show. So that's the chat all caught up with.
Fantastic. I suppose then, Magsy, should we dive into our non-wrestling topic part of the show?
We shall. Let me click the button. There we go.
NWT time. Oh! No wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Ooh, lovely.
Lovely.
So then. This week's non-wrestling topic, we were leaning into your creativity a little bit. We wanted to know what you lot out there could potentially put together as a game show, whether it's combining game shows that already exist and adding your own twist, or inventing your own game show from scratch. We're interested in potential prizes, games people would play, the method of the game itself, and maybe even a host or two, potentially. And we've had some pretty interesting answers, Maxie, haven't we?
We have some very clever, detailed answers.
Yes, indeed. I'll just dive straight in, Magsy, shall I? And we'll go through them in the order they arrived into us, sort of, as always. First of all, we have my partner in time, as I refer to him as, Mr. Dan Griffin, my partner on the Doctor Who pod, which, incidentally, today's episode of the Doctor Who pod came out this morning. They all drop at midnight on the network, normally UK time, is the podcast debut of my daughter, Charlie. Spent a good hour and a half literally putting me and Dan in our place and having far more knowledge about the subject matter than we do. And I was incredibly proud of her. She was very, very good. So make sure you check out the Doctor Who pod via SJP World Media for that.
Absolutely amazing.
She was great. She did really well. Dan says, combine It's a Knockout with Bullseye. We're already off to a good start here, Mags, aren't we?
I mean, it doesn't need to carry on. That just sounds like a winning plan.
So we'll move on. No, we won't. Contestants run obstacle courses, and 3 dartboards pop out at random. Runners score points for both the speed they complete the course and bonuses for points scored on the darts. Bounce outs that pop the inflatables cause disqualifications. See, in my head, with this topic, that was kind of the sort of thing I was looking at as well. But in my head, I had the obstacle course from the Krypton Factor with people playing. With people playing darts across the obstacle course. So the board is on one side, and they're the other side, trying to play darts. And then when
you've got to go through the obstacle course, and then you get a go at the dart. So you've got to lob it from the other side of the obstacle course.
Yeah, you work in my head, you were working in twos. So it'd be me and you in a team, for example, Magsy.
Fuck's sake.
You would potentially start the obstacle course. I would be playing darts, and whatever I score gets added to our score, and you would then come through the obstacle course as everyone's throwing darts across the obstacle course, and then you would tag me, then you would play darts, and I would go through the obstacle course, and then everyone's points would get combined. I just thought the idea of doing that obstacle course, which is really quite physical and a task, and then darts whizzing across you constantly as well, it could have been quite funny, couldn't it?
That sounds hilarious.
Just a dart
it sounds rife with injury and infection, but hilarious all the same.
It would have been funny. I imagine it to have been on Bravo or something like that back in the day. But
Dave.
There we go. Dave, yeah. Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast. They say, hashtag Bad Cop suggests, through the arsehole, Using a colonoscopy camera. That's right,
Brilliant.
isn't it? Colonoscopy camera. Yeah. Show the footage of the procedure. Get Lloyd to give cryptic clues during the procedure, and you have to guess who it
Who
is.
could have a arse like this?
Who could have an arsehole like this? The guest is always an arsehole too, or plays an arsehole in film or telly, just to help with the pun title. And I'm glad the logo he has put up is actually through the keyhole rather than any potential other options he could have shared.
I mean, who would want the job of doing colonoscopies on dickhead celebrities?
There's going to be someone out there who'd
Like,
want to do
can you imagine who gets the short straw and has to do like Gemma Collins?
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Or like Philip
Oh.
Schofield.
Philip Scott. Oh my word, yeah. Mm.
But it would be must-watch TV though.
Would it? Would it really? I imagine
Having
it would
like
be very
that
much like
naked attraction vibe.
Oh my
Where
god! I was just about to say the same thing.
You watch it and are horrified that you're actually watching it, but looking at other people's bits it's weirdly interesting.
See, my mindset was it would be like the vibe that Naked Attraction gives out, in that you watch it out of curiosity, but then once you've seen it, you don't need to go back.
Yeah, that you watch it once and then never return.
Yeah, they stopped making that now, haven't they?
Thank God. Thank God.
It was also a studio used for some BBC documentaries, wasn't it? The Naked Attraction studio. They shared it with the BBC for other programming. Imagine
I have
that.
no idea.
Yeah.
What, turning up on the wrong day, just bloke rocking up on set, and they're out holding the news, and it's just a bloke with his cock and balls rocking up. Where
On
do you
this
want
week's
me?
episode of Panorama, bollocks. Graham at MGB Graham says, now this one I might need people.
I knew he had to strong arm it in, didn't he?
I might need
ban
people
him from mentioning this.
Oh, well, you've got a problem. I don't mind disc golf at all.
We should be a team on this.
I actually don't remember the show that he's mentioning though, so I'm going to need people in the chat or yourself, Maggie, to explain a bit more. I can imagine what it is, but
I have.
okay.
I have never seen this show.
Well, he says here, Graham
is ridiculously old.
Is he really? How old is Graham?
I think he's actually around our age.
You prick. Graham says, full swing, but with the disc golf. Philo Braithwaite to take Jimmy Tarbuck's role. You thought you picked a topic I couldn't shoehorn disc golf into, right? Lol, he says. Now, I'm assuming full swing is like big break just for golf. That's what I've got in my head.
So it ran for just over 2 months. It debuted in May 1996 and ended in July 1996.
Went well then.
And basically, I don't think it was actually any physical golf went on. So it says round one, you use a golf simulator of famous golf courses. The celeb swings the ball and lands on the green or the hazard, and the contestant is asked questions, and you get like a boost in your positioning if you get it right. The second round is fairway or foul. The contestant answers a question to make the celeb hit the ball to the green. However, there are hazards, bunkers, rivers, waterfalls, rabbits, digging holes. And then round three, the final green, you answer 4 general knowledge questions, and getting them all right adds 40 seconds to your clock. And then you pick a bonus ball, and whichever one they pick out is then also added to the time. So it's like between 10 and 60 seconds. And then you've got to put 10 golf balls in a hole in the time that you've accrued to win $1,000. To win £1,000, you've got to do all that bollocks. That sounds like a shit program. Can you imagine how shit that is with golf, and then playing it with frisbees?
It does sound like something that I'm gonna have to watch an episode of now, though. My interest is peaked.
My interest has waned. And I was more interested when I didn't know anything about it than now I know about it. That sounds shit.
Graham, if you are in the chat, who is Philo Braithwaite as well? I'm guessing he's a disc golf commentator or something.
Probably, knowing Graham
Yeah.
and his friend, he'll know him personally.
Yeah. Okay. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter, he says, I've always thought there should be a show that's the opposite of Pimp My Ride.
Scrap my
Amazing.
ride.
Where teams have to search scrapyards for original parts to turn pimped-out cars to factory specifications, with the show compared in a geeky way by Richard Iode. Is that how you say it?
Richard Ayoade,
Yeah, he's the guy from the IT crowd, isn't he?
the RT crowd.
The IT crowd, yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like a
good.
brilliant show. Yeah. I mean, it sounds a little bit like it takes a bit of Scrap Heap Challenge, if you ever watched that program.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds good. Where you take people's cars where they've made them look ridiculous and put stupid spoilers and massive exhaust on, and you get them back to factory standard. That's amazing. Brilliant concept for a show.
Connor Knows Footy at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. He says, Football Jeopardy. A pretty simple formula. I'm going to stop right there, Maxie, because I have read these tweets and Connor lies there. It is not a pretty simple formula. Connor says, a pretty simple formula to follow. The contestants are on a football pitch where they pick where they want to stand on the pitch. The closer to the goal, the easier. The further you get, the more difficult the question. If you score a goal, you get a shot at answering. The question, you get a shot at answering the question, sorry. You get it right, you get the amount of money that answer was worth, say $1,000 or whatever. But there's a catch. The goalkeeper is prime Manuel Neuer. So we're time traveling as well, Maxie. Now to go back to the If your shot is saved, you start off with that negative amount the question was worth. The prize for the winner would be either an all expenses paid trip to the Champions League final or World Cup final.
Okay.
I've never seen Jeopardy.
Now, I thought Jeopardy was like where you get a board of questions worth like $100, $200, $500 or whatever, and then you have to give the answer as a question. They give you the answer, and then you have to say, what is such and such a thing? So this is nothing like Jeopardy, first of all. Not in the slightest. So the Jeopardy part is a total lie. But the one issue I have with it is if you're facing prime Manuel Neuer, it doesn't matter how fucking close towards that goal you were getting, you are not winning any money. If you answer the question right and you get a shot from the 6 yard, he is saving. Unless these contestants are professional footballers, if it's just no marks, you're not scoring into Neuer. It's as simple as that. So nobody wins any money. You get a negative amount of money apparently. So the winner will be the person who has the least negative money. It's a ridiculous concept, Connor. You should be embarrassed about that. Absolutely embarrassed. But it
does sound incredibly difficult. But then when you look at the prizes that you could potentially win, I can understand why it is so difficult, because those prizes are really good.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're that good because they don't ever. You could say to people, you will get your own island, or you will be the ruler of the world, because it's not happening. You're not going to win these prizes.
Okay. A late one here, Magsy. One of the last ones we had come into us, and obviously in the chat, CWF, chuck any suggestions you want in there, and we'll read them out in just a moment when we dive through the chat. Oh my goodness, Charlie, I apologise if you're still listening. Pigs Bladders on Twitter. He says, a TV game show called The Foreskin Challenge, where contestants in swimwear participate in unique rounds and challenges related to foreskins and circumcision. Of course it is. The rules include answering trivia questions, completing foreskin-related tasks, we're going to get more into that in a moment, and engaging in competitive challenges. To win, contestants must accumulate points by successfully completing tasks and outperforming the other participants in each round, which is pretty standard for most games, I think, Magsy, isn't it? The ultimate winner is determined based on their total points earned throughout the show. He then gets to perform a circumcision on the ultimate loser. My God.
Lord.
And if that's not bad enough, he says, hosted by Stephen Mulhern, which I think is the worst part of the whole thing.
I hate that wanker. I genuinely hate him. He's a cunt.
Yep. He's on the same list as Celine Dion.
Oh, the artwork. I mean, I will praise King Pigs Bladders all day. His artwork outstanding. But this is a program.
Sorry, Dan Griffin's comment in the chat has broken me.
The worst. Oh, good Lord.
The worst round of the foreskin challenge is the what's that smell round. Oh, Christ. Sorry, Magsy, you were saying.
Oh, I mean, there is a worse one. It could be real cheese or dick cheese. And you've got to taste test real cheese or dick cheese. Anyway.
You were saying beforehand.
The artwork it's thrown me.
Magsy's obviously clicked on the wrong button.
To the
because
show.
he disappeared for a moment. It does look like he's coming back. There you are, Max. Where did you go?
I have no idea. Why am I now at the bottom? We'll have less of that.
You disappeared, mate, and it was just me all of a sudden.
Anyway, so
yeah,
the artwork doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you've got women who have no skin in the game, as it were. I mean, how do the women win or lose this game? It's
I can't believe I'm having this conversation, but
it's baffling. I just don't understand it.
If you look at the women in this image, they've got bulges, so they obviously have the required equipment to partake in the game. So, if anything, I think Pigs Bladders should be applauded for being inclusive of all.
That makes actual sense. I take back all that I said. And then he goes and ruins it because he's now said in the comments their partners are there for moral support. What? If now this is just me spitballing, but if I was on the foreskin challenge, the last person I would want there for moral support is Mrs. Mags, because she would be the worst at giving me abuse than any of the other contestants. So I don't think that works. But what an amazing game show that would be! Another Naked Attraction special where you'd watch it just for the morbid curiosity.
Dear me, dear me. Magsy, have you got any? Oh, actually, no. First of all, I wanted to dive into this with Pigs Bladders' comments. He says, completing foreskin-related tasks. Now, obviously, we've got one suggestion in the chat, which is just downright disgusting. But how many tasks can there be? How long is an episode of this show?
Okay, so you could
competitive.
You could have picking up marbles. See how many marbles you can pick up with your foreskin. Suction. What can you hide under the foreskin? How far back you could pull it?
Oh, God.
Dan's got a perfect one. The piss inflation round. Where, obviously you hold it at the end and see if it make it swell out and what.
Why are you like this, like a beach ball?
I'm just taking my own penis as an example.
Is that right? Oh dear me!
I think this show needs commissioning. This show definitely needs commissioning.
I strongly disagree. We're having a few little internet issues. Maybe your end, Magsy, you're a little bit jumpy then, but you're back a bit okay again now.
I don't care.
So, okay.
I gave up caring a long time ago.
Is that right? Fair enough then. Okay. Have you got any ideas yourself then, mate? Not for that game. You've given plenty for that. You've stocked out a
I
whole
love that.
season for that.
I want him to pitch that to RTV. That'll be, and that's the next what's the catchphrase? That's the next catchphrase.
It's the next catchphrase, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when they're sticking bits of Lego in their foreskin to see how many they can hold, and somebody gets to I don't know 4, and he goes, "Look how many I've done." They're going to turn around and go, "Oh, it's good, but it's not the one." Is that what you're thinking?
You've just given me another idea for a round. Solving a Rubik's cube just using your foreskin.
Oh my god.
That's
Okay.
amazing. Anyway, yeah, I had one idea and I put quite a lot of thought into it. So I am of the generation that loved classic Bullseye, classic Big Break, and Soccer AM. Now, if you were British and you liked football, Soccer AM was the one. So I want to take those 3 elements. So you've got a darts-based game, a snooker-based game, and then the penalties or the football bit at the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get teams of professional sports people in those disciplines. So you'll have a darts player, you'll have a snooker player, and you'll have a footballer, and they answer questions. And if you get it right, the person who is proficient at that sport gets a challenge to do with the snooker or the football. And if you get it wrong, one of the other 2 sportsmen who are not good at that sport have to take on the sport that the question was about. So, for instance, if you had on your team Stephen Endre, Luke the Nuke, and Rio Ferdinand, and they got the snooker question wrong, Luke or Rio had to take on scoring a trick shot in snooker. Or if it was the football one, perhaps it would be score a penalty. And if they got it wrong, maybe it'd be Stephen Endre who had to take the penalty, that kind of thing. And just the antics of sports people playing outside their comfort zone. A little bit of comedy. I think I'd have Paddy McGuinness hosting because I think he's quite good at that. He does a League of Their Own, or he did do a League of Their Own after James Corden left. But yeah, that'd be a show that I would definitely watch if it was on after the Foreskin Challenge.
After. Would it not be the other way around? Because like the watershed. And I mean watershed as in the time they're allowed to show things, not any other form of watershed that you're thinking of.
That's another round. How much water can they shed from their foreskins?
Oh, my word.
See, it writes itself, this show. This could be a long running classic.
It'll probably do better than Full Swing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
oh dear.
It's got to be. I mean,
yeah.
What's worse than playing disc golf in real life? Playing it on a simulation. That's the saddest of the sad, isn't it?
I'd like to play disc. I'd like a go at disc golf though.
Oh, go and get a frisbee, hop over your back fence into a cow field, and just lob that frisbee around. It's the same thing.
Fence into a cow field. Oh, listen to you. Oh dear. One of my ideas, obviously, we spoke about earlier on, combining darts and the Krypton factor. I also like the idea of robot wars, but not building little tiny robots, building big robots. You know, like proper big robots, and then they fight a man. I think that would be great.
So murder. You're saying on that dystopian Running Man style murder?
No, the man's got a chance as well.
What chance of beating a fucking human-sized robot?
Oh, okay. Maybe I've not thought it all the way through. There's a few teething issues with the idea, but I think there's something there.
Okay, I mean, good luck. I don't know if Sky will be interested in that, but perhaps.
I think it's more of a Channel 5 thing. Also, you know, I'm pretty certain there's a TV show. Is it called The Hunger Games? Like Power Rangers, Sharon says. Yeah, potentially. There you go.
I mean, it is Power Rangers, isn't it? It's just robots the size of blokes in costumes.
Oh, no, because they're not in costumes, these blokes. They're just like in jeans and a t-shirt or whatever. And the robots are robots. They ain't got people in them.
No, well, yeah, because then they wouldn't be robots, would they?
You can even tie it up that the person stood in that little cage bit with Lister from Red Dwarf chewing their ear off all the time. He can sit there with a remote control, controlling the robot, right? And if the bloke knocks the robot down, he has to then go fight the robot himself because he's been no good at controlling the robot.
I
Oh, there's
feel
layers.
I feel you're booking this on the fly now.
A little bit. I also like the idea of I think Hunger Games. I've never seen Hunger Games or read Hunger Games, but I think this is what it's based upon. But also the TV, the movie with Steve Austin in it.
Condemned.
Yeah, where there's a gang of them on the island and they got to fight their way, and the last one, yeah, that would make for great reality TV, wouldn't it?
So you just want murder? You're just looking for murder?
Now, I'm not saying they have to die. You know, I'm not saying they kill them, but there's certain challenges and
maim or injure them.
Yeah, you could have a celebrity special, couldn't you, as well? That'd be good. Christmas Day, Boxing Day, something like that. The celebrity special of this game. You could even put one of the robots in it.
I think Dan Griffin has got it spot on. He says, Sar just wants the game show Terminator.
I'd go with that.
Brilliant.
Just imagine, though, Steve Mulhern, Celine Dion running around an island trying to fight and kill each other. Celine
Dion was back recently. Didn't she sing at the Olympics?
I don't know. I didn't watch that. I'm not big on the Olympics, mate. We know this.
No, but I'm just telling you that she did.
Okay. Well, I'm devastated I missed it.
Well, I'm going to clip it and put it on for next week's episode.
Oh, fucking great. I'm not here next week. Oh, I literally am not here next week. I'm on holiday.
Then I'll just play that for 2 weeks until we're both back together.
Just on a loop on YouTube. I bet it'll get more views than us.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
What have we got in the chat, Magsy, before we actually get around to talking some proper wrestling, I suppose?
So let's go with Dan Griffin says, through the cornhole was right there. Good cop, bad cop. That would have been spot on. Graham says he can only apologise. King Pig Rider says, if through the hassle was my suggestion, you would have got the artwork too. Oh, Jesus. I'm just picturing King Pigsbadder's doing the artwork of Gemma Collins, legs akimbo, with a pipe up her arse, and we get the screen at the side of her bowels, like half a kebab here, pizza there. Jesus.
Half a kebab, because she doesn't chew. She just opens her neck like a
swallow,
snake.
like a duck. Yeah. Then we've got Dan Griffin says, naked attraction footage gets splashed with Holmes under the hammer, or bollocks under the hammer, where it's just a bloke with his bollocks on an anvil and someone smashes him with a hammer. That could work.
Horns under the hammer.
Yeah. King Pigvanner says, naked under a hammer. I mean, these are all brilliant additions. King Pigvanner's from Dan says, chodes under the hammer. Yeah, flatten them out. That would help again with the foreskin challenge. How much pressure from a hammer can you take before your cock explodes into a million pieces? Oh,
that explodes.
Graham says, sounds like Mags is reading the same Wikipedia page I saw. Yeah, that's exactly where I would get it from for the full swing thing. Never watched it myself, but I had to Google if there was a golf quiz show, and I was actually shocked to see that there was. I mean, it was hosted by Jimmy Tarbuck, so the bar was already set very low, and the fact it only got one very short season gives you all you need to know. Graham says, you read it as Farlow. He's a player / commentator who is just extremely entertaining, has a lot of catchphrases, and he's just a really cool, positive guy. So that he'll be the host of Full Swing Disc Golf Edition.
It's not swing, though, is it? If it's this full fling, I suppose, because you're throwing it.
Well, you're still swinging your arms, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
And then Graham says, so Sar can't hum the Jeopardy music. It's as famous as the countdown. Yeah, I'm sure it's like do 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 do. I'm sure it's like
Is that the Jeopardy music?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure Graham will let us know. And then
we
he
can't
says,
hear him hum it.
It can say if I was close or not.
Oh yeah, okay.
Graham says, so least negative is the winner, just like QR then. Yeah, but there's a prize on the line for this, and there isn't one for QR, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
Oh, okay.
And then we get into the amazing foreskin challenge stuff. So Dan says, the worst round, what's that smell? Smeg or no smeg? Oh, Jesus. King Pigman and the partners there for moral support. No, they are not. They are there to take the piss out of their foreskin having husbands. Who do you think is playing What's That Smell? Jesus Christ. Sharon is concerned that 2 of the partners in the artwork were topless. I'm more concerned that some of the stars were topless and had massive cocks. A bit weird. Piss inflation round. Mags has the Mr. Fantastic Sports. That's amazing. Kingpin says it's the show that is fun for all the family. And then Graham brings up a point, and I've got to say I agree. How is this game inclusive? Jewish contestants can't play. Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Think
it's pretty racist then.
Yeah. So we can't have this then. Oh, but Kingpin has come back with a solution. Jewish contestants can wrap it in ham like Joey from Friends. Oh, good Lord. Good fucking Lord. Mags, Graham says, Mags, was it Mr. Tully was afraid of Bullseye? Oh, I don't remember that. Did Tully say he was scared of Bullseye?
He was afraid of the bull, wasn't he?
Ah, yeah.
The cartoon bull, yeah.
Dan says, just remember Velvet Sky and Angelina Love appearing as Soccerettes. Early 20s, Dan really did bank that one. Shame they were in lead shirts. Oh, the dirty Jezebels. Leeds of all teams.
I think Velvet Sky's glorious. And I didn't realise that she was a Soccerette. But also, Natalie Sawyer was a Soccerette at one point, and I got a bit of a thing for her too.
I mean, Soccerettes were all well and good, but Hell's Bells was the one.
Yeah, I get Natalie Sawyer for me, mate, to be honest, if I had to choose.
Okay.
Not that I'd ever be in that scenario, but
yeah. Fingers crossed one day. So yeah, we've got Sai just wants the game show Terminator. Is that like Power Rangers? It is exactly Power Rangers. Call it the Generation Mame. King Pig Banner says you've just recreated the Japanese film Battle Royale. Yeah, he has, exactly.
Okay.
Full Fling is brilliant, sir. Oh, disc golf fan thinks Full Fling is brilliant. Yeah, it would be. King Pig Banner said, I saw that golf game show. My dad liked it. It was a shit Big Break ripoff. Yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
I'm not surprised it only got one season. And I bet if you try and look for it, it's hard to find. You might find clips. Good Cop, Bad Cop says that is the Jeopardy music. So yeah, I was right. And then King Pig Banner says, was Clara ever a Soccerette?
Oh no, she'd be too young, wouldn't she?
Yeah. I mean, what is she now? Like early 30s?
Yeah, she's in her 30s now, so yeah.
So she'd have been like 10.
Yeah. Okay, let's move. No, stop.
And that's the end of the chat.
No, stop. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah, that's that. Thank you so much, everyone, for messaging into the show. Oh, look at us. That's progression for us, Mags, because we stepped away and left that alone. I held
my tongue. I could have gone into...
You could have, but you won't.
The nonsense part.
But you won't.
We didn't. I said I was going to try, and I've tried.
There you go. And you've succeeded to a degree. So I'm very proud of you.
Thanks. That's actually made my day. Praise
Oh,
from the
dear me.
Gloucester Grandad.
Yeah, Gloucester Grandad. Fucking hell. Should we talk some wrestling, Mags?
Let's go for it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So then, I won a poll. I won a bloody poll. And it feels like it's been
Is
a
that not
long,
2 in a
long
row?
time.
That's 2 in a row, I think.
It's not. I didn't win last time.
Are you sure?
I won for
You
ages.
might have done. I don't know. I feel that you did win because you made a big song and fucking dance about it.
Did I? What, like I'm doing now?
Yeah. But then I did call the episode I Regret This because I ended up... No, you're right. I won last week.
You won the poll with a match that I would
See how I
normally
work that
chosen.
out? See how I work
Yeah.
that out? Oh, critical thinking.
There you go, mate. Very good. Very good. Pigs Banners in the chat saying we all felt sorry for you, Si. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. The winner of the poll was me, as I said. And the match selected was the main event from Unforgiven 99, which is a 6-pack challenge, Magsy, for the vacant WWF title.
Yep.
And it's Kane versus the British Bulldog versus the Big Show versus Triple H versus The Rock versus Mankind. Now, I don't know what I expected with this when I put it forward. Well, no, that's not true. I expected a little bit more like you get when we had like the 6 guys facing off at Armageddon in Hell in a Cell, and it was just a free-for-all. That's kind of more what I had in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But what we get is the stupid standing in the corners, tagging in and out bullshit, which I absolutely hate.
Okay. I mean, it could have been done better for me. I think it was a unique way to do a 6-man match with with 4 of the bigger stars and then Big Show and Bulldog. I think it was just done this way to be different, I suppose.
Okay. There was a lot going on with the world title leading into this, wasn't there? Mankind won the world title at SummerSlam. Triple H then beat him for it on Raw.
From Austin. He beat Austin, didn't he? Yeah.
Right. Triple H then beat Mankind on Raw for the title. Austin then hit Triple H with an ambulance. McMahon beat Triple H with Austin's help. The referees are on strike, and the whole video package that covers this on the pay-per-view felt very WCW. It wasn't the standard WWF excellent video promotion that we get nowadays, or even back then. A catch up of why we are at the point we're at for the show.
Mm-hmm.
It was very WCW, just with random clips thrown together. No voiceovers, nothing explaining it, and just stills of words on the screen trying to guide you through what had been happening. And again, like I said, incredibly outdated and WCW vibes to it for me, Max.
Yeah, if you weren't watching week to week and you were doing as we do now, just watch the pay-per-views and kind of pick up the story as we go along through the amazing video packages that WWE do now, you would not have a clue why the title was vacant, why all these guys are involved in the match. There was no context or very little context given to why this match was the way that it was.
Yeah. Austin is there, even though he's not wrestling. He is the special enforcer because the referees are on strike, apart from the referee that we've got in this match.
No, that part is actually explained. He's a scab. He's a scab referee. He's broken the picket line to be the referee.
Okay. Yeah, because earlier in the show, we've got like guest referees, I suppose, haven't we? Like Tom Pritchard referees a particular match and so on, to get around the fact that the refs are on strike. And we do see them outside with signs and so on. Why were they on strike, Maxie? Was it because they kept getting hit by wrestlers and so on? Was it the dangers of the job, or?
I think it was mainly Triple H who was like the one to blame. Yeah, so there's a lot of convolution going into this match. So, as you said, the title was vacant because Vince McMahon had beat Triple H, who had just beat Mankind, and then he forfeited the title because he wanted to screw over Triple H. He then made Triple H do 5 gauntlets almost style matches where he had to beat three of his potential opponents in their specialist match, which was a very long episode of Raw. There's a lot of convoluted stories going into this match. Then you've got the whole Mankind and the Rock and Sock connection. You've got the return of the Bulldog, who turned on the Rock to help Triple H with the promise of a title shot. Yeah, there's a lot of ridiculousness going into this, and I think it needed Austin to kind of be someone who would help just guard this match the way it was meant to go.
On the mention there of the Bulldog, I mean, this is 1999. This is peak Attitude Era WWF, and you've got Kane looking the way he does. Austin is the way he is. Triple H is in full sledgehammer mode at this point. The Rock, of course, in the black trunks and all that sort of stuff. The Bulldog obviously goes on to wear jeans eventually, doesn't he, when he wrestles? Mm-hmm. But here, with the gear he's wearing, in that Attitude Era setting, with the way it's lit and the ring and his opponents, he looks incredibly out of place for me.
He does. He looks very, very odd. And this is a Bulldog who'd literally just come back. He'd helped Al Snow. Well, he essentially handed the hardcore title to Al Snow after he beat the Boss Man for it. And then he did the turn on the Rock to help Triple H win. Then got rock bottomed into some dog poo, which is absolutely hilarious. You still need to go and watch that match. And all those times he was in street clothes. He was in like hoodies and jeans. So yeah, it looks really odd that he's here in the mid-90s British Bulldog Union Jack pants with tassels on the boots. Yeah, it doesn't work. This should have been Bulldog in jeans and boots.
I agree. Austin is he comes out to the biggest reaction of all, as you would expect, after everyone else has made their way to the ring. He, though, heads straight over to the commentary table, and he's just going to sit, have a beer, and do commentary with Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. The match begins, and straight away, I sort of look at it and think, why would you tag out? Which some wrestlers in this match do. Each corner has a wrestler on it, and you have 2 in the middle. I suppose it looks a little bit Elimination Chamber-like, doesn't it? Without the actual chamber and the pods and so on. You've got the 4 on the outside, the 2 in the middle. And blind tags and so on make complete sense, and they can be used really well for booking devices in this match and similar matches like it. But you get certain wrestlers who voluntarily tag out of the match, including The Rock very early on. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, especially when you kind of understand the way the matches comes to a finish. This isn't an elimination match, even though there's 6 top stars in here. This is one fall to a finish. So whoever gets the fall wins the title. So you're absolutely right. There's potentially no incentive at all to tag out. If you're not in the match, you can't win the match. So in the blind tag and things make sense, but to actually go and physically tag someone in, you're hamstringing yourself. It just doesn't add up.
Indeed. The Rock and Triple H exchange lots of punches and kicks early on. Kane is one of the first wrestlers to use the blind tag, I suppose, to get himself into the match, which again, that would make sense because he's trying to get himself involved. Kane power slams Triple H as well. The Big Show then pushes Kane off the top rope when he's going for a clothesline off the top, and then enters himself into the ring. And I don't want to come across negative here, because ultimately I did enjoy this match, but it feels very messy and choppy and stop-start with I feel the amount of bodies that are involved, with a lot of them just standing around waiting for their tag to get into the match. I don't know if that then hinders the guys in the ring, because obviously they can't use the corners because of potential tags. They're limited very much to what the two guys who are legal can do. And with most combinations for the opening, well, I'd say opening half of the contest, it's very punchy kicky for me, regardless of who's in there.
Yeah. It gives the game away that this is a booked match, that moves are timed, and tags are done at the correct time. So, for instance, if this was an all-out brawl, people can, or the wrestlers can, communicate between themselves to pull off whatever big spot that they want to. But with only 2 people being in the ring at once, and 4 people stood on the outside, you have the feeling that people are just waiting for their moment to do their spots. And then I don't think it helps that the stipulations of the match are explained as and when an issue comes up. So for example, there's a low blow from Mankind. He kicks Kane in the balls, and then it's explained that this is a no disqualification match. And then there's a point where there's a brawling on the outside, and then it's explained that there's no countouts. This wasn't explained beforehand. This is being told on the fly. So, and you mentioned right at the beginning, it's very, very WCW, where it feels a little bit booked on the fly, but where with WCW, a lot of the times it wasn't entertaining because of how ridiculous the wrestling was booked. This match, for me, kind of skirts that line, and it still ends up being a very entertaining match.
Okay. You mentioned the fighting on the outside. It starts with Mankind and Triple H. They go down the entranceway back towards the entrance itself. The Rock soon joins them. Then Kane arrives, and then everyone else is just fighting in the aisleway. That I quite enjoyed. You're getting the level of carnage and chaos and unpredictability that I kind of felt we were going to get in the match more, but is somewhat restricted with the tagging in and out aspect. But then Mankind does that sort of very short pile driver where he grabs the opponent's trunks or waist belt sort of effort, and he does it to Triple H on the ring steps. That looked brutal, didn't it?
Yeah, that it looked painful. Let's just say that. This was definitely peak Attitude Era, where CTE was never a consideration whatsoever.
No, definitely not. We're back into the ring. And then we get some funny interaction between Mankind and The Rock. And this goes on for a little bit in the match with certain moments where the Mankind is tagging The Rock in and telling him to go win the match and giving him a thumbs up.
He's also
the whole Rock and Sock connection thing.
Mankind is also actively avoiding being in the ring against The Rock for long periods of the match. He's whenever Rock's tagged in and Mankind's going to be his opponent, Mankind is looking to tag out. And I think there's a point where it might be Big Show point blank refuses to tag Mankind, so he ends up going and basically tagging Kane in, just so he doesn't have to face off with The Rock.
Yeah. We then get the referees out, don't we?
Which it's almost tacked on that as soon as you see these guys coming to ringside, you know what they're there for. They're clearly there to protest, smash up graves, burn down Greg's, and just be an absolute nuisance.
Yeah. Yeah. The Big Show is beating up on Mick Foley. It has a very close 2 count that The Rock stops. And then The Rock and Triple H are facing off for a bit. They end up on the outside. The Rock spits some of Austin's beer on Triple H.
He stole Austin's beer as well.
Yes, indeed.
Directly out of his hand, stole the beer, and Austin would have normally kicked the Rock's ass for that. But he's actually impressed with him doing that until he spits out the beer and he says, "I'm not happy that he did that bit," but he was impressed with the Rock taking the beer from Austin's hand. So a little bit of respect there from the era's two biggest stars.
Austin on commentary as well at one point in the match also turns to Jim Ross and says, "I don't fully understand the format." And I'm thinking,
and neither do we, Austin. Neither do we. And to stay on that point for a minute, I think Austin was really good on commentary.
Yeah.
He added a lot to the match. I mean, he's always been, especially in this version of Steve Austin, I've always thought he's been brilliant on the mark, very engaging, and he just didn't give a shit. And it's just brilliant commentary. Really added to the match.
I also think as well, it's done so well because Austin's obviously a big personality and he's the star, isn't he? Let's be honest. But yet he doesn't overshadow Jim Ross, who is calling the match properly, doing his play-by-play stuff. Lawler is supposed to be there as the color commentator. He doesn't overshadow Lawler. He plays his own role and interacts with them rather than taking away from them, which we do see sometimes when wrestlers go on to commentary. They either don't say enough or they say far too much for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he doesn't make the match about himself. I mean, he is the big star of this era of wrestling. There's no doubt about it. But he doesn't take the spotlight away from the match. He adds to that spotlight for him. So yeah, Austin has definitely got his proverbial working boots on here.
Yeah. The Big Show again makes a blind tag. Kane, whilst this is going on, tombstones Mick Foley. But no one, the referee can't count this because obviously there was a blind tag made, and the Big Show is the legal man, not Kane. Mm-hmm. Which again is very confusing because there's no disqualification. So why are they sticking to that rule? It's a bit, like you said, Max, very WCW. Everyone is in now, fighting away. The Rock is then given Mr. Socko in the chops.
And Triple H also turns on Bulldog, they were in cahoots, and he takes this opportunity to pedigree Bulldog, who takes one of the worst pedigrees known to man. He lands essentially on one knee. He didn't help himself when it came to injuries, didn't old Dairy Boy?
No. But I imagine at this point in his career, he probably didn't feel it because he was so off his box on tablets and pills and whatnot anyway, wouldn't he? So
pretty much.
But there you go, pretty much. The Rock hits a rock bottom for 2 as well, a very near 2 count. Then the Big Show clears the ring, hits a choke slam on Mick Foley. Looks like he's got the match won. But then the referees pull the referee out the ring as he's counting the 2. It's brilliant.
I mean, we expected it. That's exactly what the refs were there for. But it really worked. And for non-wrestling personalities, they nailed the timing. This could have easily gone wrong, but they drag out Jimmy Corderas and they beat the fucking shit out of him. So Austin,
he has 5-on-1, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah. So Austin, who's meant to be enforcing, but has had very little to do, really. He storms around and just chins all of the referees. It's fucking brilliant. A really good kind of like palate cleansing spot when you're coming towards the finish.
In the ring, Triple H is pinned by The Rock for another 2 count. The Rock hits a rock bottom and then goes for a people's elbow. Austin goes in to make the count, and when he hits 2, he's pulled out of the ring to interrupt the count there. The Bulldog then jumps in with a chair. He gets pedigreed. Triple H then pins The Rock for 3. There's lots of moving parts and so on. You got the other referees. You got Austin reluctantly making the count for Triple H to win the match and so on. It's absolute chaos. But the finish itself, I really loved, Magsy. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, you've missed a couple of minor details. Okay. So we had the turn from Triple H on Bulldog earlier in the match, but Bulldog, as the brain damaged clown that he is still on the side of Triple H because he brings the chair in, threatens to hit the Rock with it. Austin takes it off him and just wellies him, like literally just he bends the chair around around Bulldog's brains. Absolutely brilliant, and that's what leads to Triple H getting the pin. And to be fair to Austin, he obviously lost the title recently, and he's having a lot of issues with Triple H. He doesn't slow count him. He does a genuine count, and he signals to the ring bell to be rung. But then when he hands the title to Hunter, Hunter's there showing off in Austin's face, rubbing it in his face. So he just gets a fucking stunner to end the show, and Austin stands tall while 6 of his brethren are scattered around the ring. So it's a really good ending. You absolutely nailed it. It's a very good ending to what in parts was a very disjointed match.
Yeah. Well, okay, there we go. We might as well summarize now and give our marks out of 10, Mags, on what we think. What you got?
I was going into this fully expecting. I mean, I have seen this. I saw it live, and then I've seen it maybe a couple of times since. And I was going into this thinking, it's not going to blow me away. And it didn't really, but it didn't bore me to tears. I think even though there is lots of glaring issues with the match, I mean, the format for one, the way the rules are explained for another, the fact that there's very little context given to why this match is taking place, the issues with the referees. It's an enjoyable match to watch. It doesn't outstay its welcome. I think it only goes slightly over 20 minutes, which if you think you're involving 6 huge names, that's not too bad. It's not the best match in the world, but it's certainly nowhere near the worst. I think this is a 7. I think I'll go with a 7.
Okay. I've got similar feelings, to be honest. It's a lot of it's punchy kicky, which normally gets marked down in my book when it's all punchy kicky because I'm here to watch wrestling, and obviously that is part of what we see in professional wrestling, but this is a lot of that kind of thing. But at the same time, I feel that the match format restricts the guys in the ring with that. It is very disjointed all over the place. It's, to be honest, it's a bit of a fucking mess, but it's a fun mess. It's I think a line you used, Magsy, summarizes it perfectly for my mindset. It didn't bore me, even though there was so much I could pick holes in and think so much I didn't like. But the finish I really enjoyed. The blind tag for the tombstone, etc., I really enjoyed. I've got 6.5, so a little bit less than yourself. Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't rush to go watch it again, but I wouldn't hate watching it again, I suppose, is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Where, if your selection wins the poll, Mr. Mags, where are you linking to from this for next week?
Okay, so whenever you talk about 6-men matches, there's 2 that come to my mind, and this one was not one of them. So I always think of the 6-man ladder match in NXT for the first ever North American champion. But the one that always comes to my head first, and it's one that you mentioned at the beginning, it's the Armageddon 2000 6-man Hell in a Cell And it's mainly because we see Rikishi, who is 400 pounds, take a fucking crazy ass bump. But I think that for me is a better 6-man match than this one, potentially. I haven't watched it in a long while. Maybe I'll be able to pick it apart, being critical. But yeah, I want to go to Armageddon 2000 and the 6-man Hell in a Cell match for the WWF title.
And who is in that? Because that's got a star-studded cast, hasn't it? The Rock, Kurt
So
Angle.
Kurt Angle's the champion going in it, and it's got Undertaker, Rock, Triple H, Rikishi, and Steve Austin.
Yeah, I mean, what a set of performers that is. Wow.
It's the elite of the elite.
And Rikishi.
But to be fair, at this time, he was part of the biggest story in wrestling. So
yeah. Have we not covered that? I'm amazed we've not covered that.
Well, I did some very last minute checking of the Excel file, and it's not been covered.
Oh, okay, it's probably gone up on a poll and not one potentially.
I'll have another look through, but yeah.
Okay.
I've done all the searches.
Okay, but I mean, mentioning matches that have gone up on the poll and not one, I've wanted to look at a multi-person match myself because of this being 6 people. I thought that would be my link, and I could find a multi-person match. And again, looking on lists online, greatest multi-person matches in wrestling history and so on. And a lot of the ones you mentioned there, Magsy, stood out as well. The North American ladder match and so on. But then one stood out that I looked at and I thought, I remember that being fucking brilliant. But it's a shame because I think we've covered it. But I looked on the spreadsheet and it turns out we have not covered this match. What actually has happened is way back on Chain Wrestling episode 6. This went up on a poll and lost. But I would like to go to SummerSlam 2017 and the multi-person match being the link, the 4-way match between Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar for the WWE Universal, I think it was then, title. I remember that being bloody fantastic when I first watched it. I remember watching it back again, which is something I don't do masses, to be fair, with wrestling of that era. And it's just 4 massive guys kicking the shit out of each other, really well booked. And I think at the time you and I said it was bloody excellent. So that is my option.
Okay.
There's a chance that's the longest we've gone between matches going up on the poll, episode 6 to episode 150 odd we're on now. That's a long way, isn't it, since the same match has been mentioned? Because we do like to put other matches up that have lost in the past, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, from the very first episode, you put up Hogan versus Slaughter, and that took, 16 episodes before that ended up actually being picked. So yeah, we did have a very loose rule that a match can get put up twice, and if it loses both times, it can never be brought up again. But I think we ditched that as quick as we ditched Mags versus Sa.
Which was a brilliant segment for the show. We were just thick as shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we don't win pub quizzes.
Yeah, well, you say that, I did, but then, you know.
Yeah, you said I did as well before. I was unbeaten until Paul.
That's a fair point. So those are your options on this week's poll. We have the spectacular Hell in a Cell 6-man contest at Armageddon 2000 between The Rock, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rikishi, and that incredible fall all the way down onto that random truck with wood chippings and so on. But it is an incredible contest, and what a list of competitors it has. Or the bloody brilliant Fatal 4-way between Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam 2017. The poll will be up probably a bit earlier this week, just to make sure we can get it done and up and so on, with obviously the view about me going away on the Monday. Me and Max are going to talk after the show, what we're going to do about next week's episode, whether we can fit it in before I go or it has to be put on hold or whatever. We'll discuss it and then we'll put it up on Twitter and Facebook and all the usual places for you to know what we're doing as next Monday night with the show. But that's where you'll find the poll, so make sure you're voting, retweeting and all that great stuff. Magsy, before we move on, I just want to dive right back to the top of the chat, which I have here, because Ori has commented a couple of times, and whatever's happened with this new X thing we have, her comments are going right to the very top, so we've missed a couple. Ori mentioned about Jey Uso coming to help Rhea Ripley. And she says that she can't see Jay just jumping back in with Jimmy and Roman due to the reasons he left. There has to be a conversation between Jay and them saying things have to be different. And that does, logically, from a storytelling standpoint, of course, it's wrestling, so logic does go out the window. And then she says, all caught up, and yet somehow we've missed the Jey Uso comment. It's because this is new to us, Ori. It's chucking your comments right at the top, and we don't know why. So I'm going to have to get on the StreamYard.
What is also very weird, I mean, you guys only see the comment we put up, but we get to see the timestamp. And all of Ori's comments say 11:34 p.m.
Oh, yeah. That's weird.
That is really weird.
Mm.
And then the last comment she put, long episodes of Raw. That never happens. It does, believe me.
Indeed. So, we will have a little look into why that is happening. TV-in problems, Magsy, was something new in it, that's all. If needs be, I'll contact StreamYard and we will get that fixed. But there we go. Magsy, do we have anything to catch up on in the chat now, or are we going to dive into Hogan being a Billy bullshitter?
Well, we can have this one from Graham. He says, "Okay, guys, I muted you so I could watch Full Swing episode 1 at times 2. It's pretty good, actually. Wouldn't want to watch it every week, though. Well, luckily for you, it only lasted 8, so you can spread that over the year. So, that's the chat
over the year. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Okay, then, I suppose now we could just take in, more bullshit from the Great Orange One.
Let's do it.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Liar, liar, pants on fire, hanging from a telephone wire. Squirming, pants are burning. When I lie, my hips start turning.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Look, man, I made a mistake.
What do you got for us, Mags?
Okay. Again, I don't know if this one is a repeated one. They don't seem to be, because you've confirmed on the last couple of episodes, but I haven't marked them off, so I'm going with it anyway. So Hulk Hogan once claimed that Harley Race came to the arena with a gun in Kansas City in the mid-'80s, and he set the ring on fire. And then when he ran into Hulk Hogan, he shook his hand, apologized, thanked him for everything he's done in the world of wrestling, and asked Hulk Hogan for a job. Knowing Harley Race, I don't know if any of that actually happened. I mean, apart from the gun thing, that probably did happen. But
that did happen.
Him shaking Hogan's hand, apologizing, and thanking him for all he's done in the wrestling business. No, that never happened, Hulk. You lying bastard.
The gun thing is true. He had to get talked down. There's various people who have said about it, knowing that happened, and he had to get talked down because he was going to, with Hogan and Vince and expanding and the territories and putting people out of business, Harley was quite cross, and he, shall we say, struggled at times to control his temper. It's probably a soft way of wording.
Which leans into the fact that he probably didn't thank Hogan for all he'd done for the wrestling business.
Probably not. But he did get a job there shortly after, so maybe. Who knows? But it is bullshit from Hogan. You are correct. You lying orange bastard. Magsy, look at that, eh? Just a shy under 2 hours. We're bloody professional, ain't we?
Efficient, aren't we?
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for getting involved in our non-wrestling topic, voting in the poll, joining us live, listening to the podcast, and so on. It's been absolutely fantastic again. Magsy, where can people find you online?
You can find me down here on Twitter at, is this the Twitter one? No, this is the TikTok one, at Podfarmer Mags, where you see videos of chickens and vegetables and all that shenanigans. If you take the this M out and the R and swap them with a T and H, you'll find my X account where I very rarely post. I'll sometimes retweet and I'll probably not follow you back, so don't bother doing that. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
There we go. At SJP World Media is where you'll find anything I'm involved in. And also you'll find shows with bloody brilliant people from the network that I'm not involved in because they are far more talented than I. We have, first of all, The Volley returns live Wednesday night. So wherever you are viewing this particular show itself now is where you'll find The Volley on Wednesday night with Matt Willis, Conor McCabe and, of course, Dan Griffin, looking into the upcoming Premier League season, reviewing the transfers and the fixtures coming up and so on, and just talking about what they think might be occurring in the coming Football League season. We also have the Doctor Who pod, which came out today with my daughter Charlie. Absolutely fantastic. Go check it out. She did really, really well. And we're coming to the end of the 6th season of that show. So we have our countdown ranking episode thingamy, which even though we're 6 seasons in, we still haven't named. And that's going to be out very soon as well, where we're going to rank the episodes in order of preference. Always a good laugh, and we often disagree, Dan and I, to be fair. Nitro Nights will be returning sometime in September. Ben and I have been very, very busy. We're going to try and build up a little bit of a backlog of episodes, and we'll be re-releasing again in September, as I said. But you've also got Tyler's Takedowns and Tyler Talks Music, where Tyler looks at pro wrestling, and on Tyler Talks Music, all sorts of music talk as well. The fantastic Axe playlist podcast as well. Just brilliant stuff all over the place. So many shows. I ain't got time or the memory to list them all. So make sure you are following, subscribing, etc., at SJP World Media for all that great stuff. But most importantly, you can find and follow this show itself on Facebook and Twitter. That's at @chain_wrestling there. And that's where you'll find our non-wrestling topic. You'll find all the rest of the CWF to have a conversation with if you so desire. And of course, you'll find our weekly poll where you decide where we go and which wrestling match we dissect and talk about, Magsy.
Yeah, absolutely. And to end the show, Graham has said he hopes you have a great holiday next week.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you, sir. On that note then, I'm off now to go to bed because I've got work soon, but hopefully praying that the temperature is going to drop in this room because it is roasting in here. I'll speak to you next week, Magsy. Maybe. We'll find out.
Daddy Sarr loves Barry Windham.